Okay, this is the first deliverables for the business analyst. What we call is a business need document. Business need document means we, in this document we define the problem or the opportunity what the organization is facing. Okay, so this is a formal document, and before we prepare this document there is a lot of processes there. For example, we had to identify the problem, source of the problem, how often it is occurring, and what is the impact of that problem on the organization, on the stakeholder, on the operations, and on basically customers, and how much impact it is financially, and also can we quantify those the impact, and then what are the risks we are facing because of that problem. That is one, that is how what we have to basically define, and based on that we will basically prepare this business need document. Okay, and when we prepare this one we also will have a more or less idea about, okay, this is a document, this is the sorry, this is a problem which is been acknowledged and accepted by all the stakeholders in terms of the problem definition, and they also understand and agree that all the problems are the all the problems are basically the problem definitions is basically covers the uh, all relevant data which is required. Okay, so this is what we talk about when we say the problem definition. So in this document when we write, we also write what kind of an investment we are looking for in order to address the problem. So usually these templates or the definition documents are is a end product of all our activities, the previous activities. For example, if you are defining the problem, and while defining the problem you will go through all the analysis and research, and again collaborating the relevant stakeholders, and when you define that you will present that information to your different stakeholders and acknowledge, take their feedback, update it, again present them back, and once they accept it, then you define that information, then you define your the problem statement or business need document, or you can say the opportunity statement. Okay, so that's usually the process is the templates are always at the end of your activity, that's your main deliverables, but before that we follow this process. Okay, so remember that process. Now when we talk about this document, here the name of the document is business need document. In this here we have mentioned what is a project name, online banking solution, version is 1.0, and here it is a date is mentioned. Okay, then you have is a the version history. Version history is very important in any document or any template. The reason it provides you the information about what is the maturity of the document, how often it has undergone the changes, and where the changes are there, and or why what are the reasons for the changes, and again it talks about when it was basically been changed, I mean and who has made the changes, who has approved it, and exactly what has changed. So this particular page gives you a record of the history of your this document. Okay, and then if you want to see when any particular change at why the change has happened, then you can basically access only that word version document, so you don't need to go through all these documents. For example, certain document may have changed 25 times, so it is very difficult for you to go through 25 times, so you may have to just go to a particular version where it is mentioned the reason for change, and that change and the reason for the changes. So there you see what has changed, what was there the previous, and then what has changed and why it was changed, who has initiated the change and who has accepted, and why it was been the accepted, and the what kind of a recommendations they have provided. So all that information you may have it here. Okay, so this is typically a version history. Then you may have, these are the notes what we usually provide for writing the document. And this is the notes. What if you see here, the instruction page can be inserted into other templates as well. You can add, but after completion of the template you can remove this document. Usually these templates you get it from your the governance department or audit department, or PMO the office may have these templates which they expect you to follow. These are the standard templates they expect you to follow, so that there is a standardization across the organization. So this is what is basically and when they create these templates, they also add the instruction to the user. So when you are using these templates, you will have to basically follow the instruction. The follow instruction means to follow how to write this template and complete it. Okay, now here it is basically mentioned like some of the the instruction, like for example, italicized text enclosed in the square bracket, that is provides the instruction to the document author, or describe the intent, assumption and content context of the content included in the document. Now if you see here, we have mentioned the online banking solution, so that we expected some information there. Italicized text enclosed in angle bracket indicates a field that should be replaced with the information specific to a particular project. So some you are mentioning the project wise, and some you are mentioning as a organization policy and those kind of thing. Okay, then you can add additional information. If you see, wherever the brackets are there, once you complete that, you insert the information, you remove those the brackets. Okay, and then you can also how to save this document and their proper change the properties, all this is mentioned. Okay, so these are the additional instruction when you create the document. Then you have a modify boiler points wherever it is required. Then section headings you need to modify. Then end of um, uh, exercise or end of your the activity, you may have to basically insert the table, because again that is again important part, that the document, and when you complete the content, then you have to see what are the headings, subheadings, that is the main heading, subheadings, subheadings, and that is a heading like H1, that is H2, H3, H4, like that. Okay, then you may have the how do you submit the document, delete some of the information. So it is mentioned here, the other additional information. When you receive the book, you can go through this in detail. I want to check with you, how many of you know how to insert the table of content? All of you know? How about you, Kulbhushan? You don't know? Okay, Angelique, let me show you. Okay. I have to just open another the document. Just let me stop this one sharing. I'll open another document. Can you see the blank the word page? Okay, word document here. Okay. Oops. Okay, here it is. In this case, I'll just show you. For example, you have introduction. Then you may have within the introduction, you may have project background. Then you may have basically users, something like that. Okay, then in this you may want to have the introduction is done, then you may want to write down additional details, like for example, assumption and constraint. And under that you want to write assumption first, and then you want to define constraint. Within that you want to define business constraint. And then you may have want to define technical. Okay, then you want to say for example you want to write business requirement, then you want to write business requirement 1, business requirement 2, okay, then sorry, 3, okay, then you may want to add the glossary. Okay, so this is your document you have prepared. Then in that case you can basically highlight these. First you can highlight this is actually number them 1.0. If you remember, we have numbered, this is part of 1.0, 1.11. So this is your heading H1, this is H2 because this is subheading users. Then assumption and constraint can become 2.0, that is additional, okay, and this is 2.1, this is 2.2. Business constraint can be, okay, this is 2.2, and with this one is actually 2.2.1 because this is part of the constraint, right? Then this one it could be 2.2.2. Then your business requirement could be your 3.0. Then within this you can have 3.1, 3.2, 3.3. Then the glossary can be 4.0. Okay, so now I numbered them, I know the information there will be, so we can highlight them and go to your, I'm using the Mac. Okay, so in the Mac we have a style here, okay, and here this is the heading 1. I just select this, become heading 1. Now this you can together you can highlight, but when there is a content then you have to highlight only one by one because under that there could be some paragraph, right? So you can write this as, again, this is heading 2, select this, becomes heading 2. This again you can actually do like this also, heading 3, heading 2 only, this is okay. So now this is again heading 1. Now if you see under this is, and this is normal text, no spacing, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and this is title, subtitle, and subtle emphasis, and those different types are strong, quote, and all those things are there. Okay, book title, extra. Now this is heading 1 because this is a 2.0. Now you see here 1.0, 2.0 are again H1. Okay, so these two I'm going to highlight together and cover them as under heading 2. Now these two are now heading 3 because this is part of your constraint, so you can just do it here, heading 3, and this becomes your heading 1 again because it is main heading, and these 3 are your heading 2 because this is again part of your heading 1. Then this one is a glossary, and that glossary is going to be your again heading 1. But now when you create actually document, then it will not be on the same page, right? There will be pages. So let's insert some of the pages. Okay, so let me first take this into the next page. I'm using the insert and page break, so they goes to the next pages. Okay, so first let us basically create the, now you have already first, these are all your headings and there will be information within that, but right now we are not writing the content, just writing the headings, and we numbered them and we highlighted them. Okay, now here when you come here, I'm just using insert. Unfortunately cannot see it because this part the reason I cannot see show you because it's the top section in the Mac, they have that the main menu is on the top. So I use now insert and I'm using the index and table. Okay, so this is what you get it, insert, index and table. So in the index we don't need to do index, we have to basically do the table of content. Okay, so this is a table of content, and within that you will see the style which you like. This is a from template, traditional, classic, contemporary, modern, formal, simple. Okay, so let's take this as a formal, and I'm just going to say insert, right? So this is automatically it is inserted. If you see here, introduction, project background, users, assumption, constraint, and it is systematically inserted, all of them. If I have to click on this, this is a link here which takes exactly me to the place where it's supposed to be. Okay, here it is. Now the information will not be on the same page, so let's basically take them to the next page. I'm inserting the page break. So right now this is on the page. Now introduction is one page, this is on the second page, assumption and constraint, and this is on the, we'll take this as on the third page. Okay, another page break, and now we can just take this also, glossary, on the next page. Okay, so now if you see here, the table of content is not changed yet, but the information is on, this is on the page 2. Okay, and this is on the page 3, and this one is on the page 4, and this is on the page 5. So we go back to the table of content, and you can just simply highlight them. Okay, you can just do this highlight and right click. You will see these options, update the field and all those things. So you go to update field. Always remember, you will get this option, word updates, update the page numbers only or update the entire table. Or always use it, update the entire table, because if there is any heading or content has changed or something has changed, this will automatically get updated, rather than just updating the page number, which doesn't make any sense. Because if you find some of the headings have changed, or some, deleted or something, so you will not, that will not be included if you just update the page numbers, right? So always, as a rule, you update the entire table. Say okay. Now if you see here, the page numbers have been updated here, like a 2, this is gone into third, this is gone into fourth, and this is on the glossary. I go here. Okay, in the glossary I can just say that, for example, if you want to add 4.1 as a business glossary, then you may say 4.2 as a technical. Or maybe something, I'm just adding it. This doesn't make any sense, but just to show you. Now these two you have added. Now we are going to highlight them and go back here, and you want to again highlight them as a heading 2. So we made them as a heading 2, so we have added the content. So in such cases, if you just update the page number here, this will not work. For example, now we just update the field, and you just see that only page numbers, it will not be updated, this one, right? But if you update the entire thing, update the entire table, then you will see these two are added: business glossary, technical glossary. Okay, so that's the reason you always add the update the entire table. This is how you insert the table of content. Is this okay? All right, I see. I have not seen that yes you mentioned earlier. So I guess you knew, and you did not know. I'm not very sure. So I'm just not going to save this one. It's all right. It's a repetition. No problem. So I'm going to change the, again, share this one. Okay, this is a table of content here. We have not added the page number because the page number is basically missing. The reason is it is part of the book, so the page number will change, and so it will create a confusion. So we have just added the table without the page number. Okay, so here in the introduction you have to write the purpose of business, the online banking solution document, or purpose of your this particular document, or purpose of this solution, actually what you're providing. So this particular place you have to write down what is the project and why do you want it. Okay, so these are the information we are mentioning, the project and project information. Okay, so don't write too much information. Say sometimes if the project is related to the regulatory, which is mentioned here, right? So, or maybe project is related to the customers, or the project is related to something, some other area. So mention those criticality. For example, here the business need statement identifies a project idea that may turn into a proposed investment or proposal. It includes a brief description of the proposed project purpose and its goal and the scope, as well as a rough order of magnitude of the cost and the schedule. The basic business and technical skills are required. But right now we are going to only write about the purpose and the investment, nothing more than that. In the second practical session, we will cover the vision document, and as well as we will cover the business case, that is, how do we justify the investment. So what are the parameters parameters we can consider them in order to calculate the investment versus the revenue in the future. So if the particular solution does not bring enough benefits, then the entire the investment will not be what we call approved. So that's one reason we have to ensure that we capture this detail in a systematic way, then we present it to the selective stakeholders and we take their feedback, and then we present to the larger audience and as well as the sponsors, right? Because this is very crucial part. If you write this correctly, if you are able to define your problem correctly, then you will be able to define your solution and avail the funding. In this document there is only this particular page is important. In this, if you see general information, date requested, who has requested, name, again everything is hypothetical, you can write down email id, phone number, COO or CTO, because most of these projects are part of the COO or CTO's basically funding or his budget. Okay, so you can write down the names, and again you can write down the business owner of that particular project who is supporting this document. Okay, then this is the crucial part. Name, you can name the investment or the project name. What is the project is all about? You want to you are seeking an investment. Desired start date, when you intend to start. Business need, now this is a criticality. What is the business need? You have to, the earlier in the paragraph you have written the background, but here you have to write actual business need for, and I will just show you what how you can basically write down. Then what goal you want to achieve. Enter the detailed description of the purpose, goal and the scope of the proposed investment of the project. Okay, enter the detailed description of how proposed IP align with or advances the goal or objectives. Okay, so you have to again, when you are seeking an investment, or you are first you are proposing some change, or you, and then you are seeking some investment, you have to first thing you have to ensure that it is addressing the problem or opportunity, and second part, it is in line with the organization strategy and the goal. So this is where you will have to basically describe how it is aligned with the business objectives. Huh? And rough estimation, you may have to just write down how much it requires. Right now you don't need to write the human hours and material, but just a number, how much the cost it will require. And you can write the risk and issues, what are the possible risk and issues are there in this particular project. Okay, so I will go through the other part as well, so you will understand what I mean, all these details. Okay, because this is a very high level, so let's basically understand some other document as well. Now in this, if you see online banking solution, then it is talking about the signature and then approval and title. This is how you can seek the approval, write the information, because without the approval you can't go ahead. So you have to ensure that every document is been approved by relevant stakeholders. So there may be one or more stakeholders who have to sign, so you can add their names. Okay, now here document name and versions, description and location. So this is the document name and version, description and location. Okay, now I'm just basically show you the second document which can help you to understand. Let's skip this part. There are many documents are here which we can basically you can refer them, many templates. And okay, this is the basically document I would like to basically show you. This is a sample the document which is now data is populated in this template. This is, we call it as a vision and a business case. In this we have mentioned the executive summary. If you see here, the management of Global Bank Limited, that is GBL, is committed to providing quality services for the customer satisfaction. With the advent of e-commerce and spread of technology, the effective usage of technologies to provide value-added services has become essential. Okay, so this we are, you consider this was maybe around 20 years ago. Okay, when the banks were trying to digitize their operations, right, and also provide online banking solution. Now it is online banking solution has become very old, but of course you have to, you can add this. Okay, now we talk about the how this situation would have been before starting this particular project, right? So this is and that particular state when they were contemplating the pros and cons and the opportunities they are facing, and we consider the situation during that time, and based on that you can refer this document considering that context and that discussion, and that is the situation and the technology, and also considering the customer's mindset during those time. Okay, so otherwise if you are referring this document from today's context, it will be quite outdated, and maybe you may not connect with this. Okay, so now here it is with CBS, means central banking systems or solution having been implemented. Customers now have a convenience of anywhere banking by visiting any of the branches connected to central banking systems. Means a bank was already providing, they had basically centralized banking systems where you can go to any branch and bank. Before that people have to go to the particular branch and complete the transaction, but now this has been, now integrated system has been implemented. So this is again we're talking, so they are talking about, since it is done, so we can basically provide online banking solution. Now here this is a little bit of a background about the why do we want to provide. With the internet prevalent, online banking prevalence, online banking has become one of the preferred modes of banking. In a current environment, this one I'm reading here. In the current environment, customer is expected to visit the branch to access the account. The branch has to provide adequate staff to cater to the volume of customer transaction. Due to these in-person transaction, the cost of processing and completing the business is high as compared to automated transaction. Manual transactions are not only time consuming but also run the risk of errors and omissions. That's right. The further, customers have to physically visit the branch, involving the cost of travel and time for them. This is very significant. If I have to tell you, in Bombay, if you are staying in, for example, Andheri, and your bank is in Bandra, then just to reach the go to the bank and come back, it's like a half a day job. So that's could be again issue. I'm talking about whenever you need a the need to visit. Now most of the work is done online, but if you have to visit, then it becomes difficult, right? And many times when we have a branch, we don't intend to change. If you open the account, you keep there, and since you don't have to visit the bank, you are, so you don't prefer to shift your account actually. Okay, now here it is manual transactions we are talking about. A further, customer had to physically visit to the branch, involving the cost of travel and time for them. Especially when you are abroad, then it becomes impossible. The bank facilities are also limited to the customer within the branch operation hours. Now you are expected, okay, you want to do the banking operations after the office hours or during the weekend, then it becomes difficult, right? With the advent of technology, there is a increase in the customer expectation with respect to ease of transaction and availability of services. Customers now prefer to operate their account with banks providing host of technology enabled services. 30% of banking transactions are now being completed online. Further, with the massive adoption of plastic money, that is debit card or credit card, or other similar payment options, the digital payment growth rate is expected to be 40% in 2014. So you consider this basically, uh, document was relevant somewhere in 2004 or something, okay, 4 or 5. That is a time when Indian banks were going through that online banking solution, and they were actually planning and implementing, and some of them were already implemented, but they were struggling with the smooth operations, okay. Now this is what we given the background. Now this is the what we are talking about, the growth. For example, here account opening, currently it is existing 4%, estimated is 10%. Number of transaction right now it is 5%, estimated is 11%. Expenses right now, the existing expenses, actually it is operating cost is there which is not mentioned, but it is estimated is 10% of maintaining, okay. Gross revenue 6%, it is 8%. The total capital expenditure expected to be around USD 1.6 million with the break even of 2 years. The solution is expected to be delivered in phases, okay. So the mission is mentioned about the bank, okay. Now this particular part, earlier part, we talked about why the solution is important and how it will add a value to the organization. Now in this mission statement, we are talking about how this solution is aligned with the organization strategy, okay. So this is basically is mentioned here. The bank is committed to providing quality user-friendly customer services to enable customers to experience banking with ease. Okay, so this is our mission. So the online banking solution is actually in line with our mission, right? In line with this vision, the bank would like to capitalize the growing technology by providing seamless transaction and ease of banking. As a step toward the same, the implementation of online banking solution to the customer is proposed. Online banking solution will enable customers to carry out banking transaction from the comfort of their homes without requiring them to physically visit the branches. Okay, so this is basically you are talking about the mission. Let's basically talk the next part. And this is you have provided the context diagram. The customers are here. This is online banking solution which is connected to the core banking solution. If you know, core banking solution means that's where you have a master data, transaction data, these types. So all the entire the processing is here. This online banking is what the customers will face, that interface, okay. So that is your online banking, and then you have the pool of services displayed here. For example, customer will log in, customer will transact, customer will view the statement. And the online banking solution is basically, if you see this one, this line is giving you the replies. Online banking solution and the core banking solution are basically interacting with each other to basically retrieve the data and also update the data, because customers may feed some inputs, right? For example, you may transfer the amount, so that has to be updated in core banking solution. Online banking solution also basically communicate with the federal banking, that is RBI. That's a monitoring the authority, right? Regulatory authority for banks. So here we may have to interact with the bank for various reasons. So this is basically been captured. Now problem and opportunity statement is mentioned here. This part you need to basically cover in that the business need document. That is, the bank's business has been growing at the rate of only 4% in the past 3 years, versus the average of growth of business banks providing modern facilities including internet banking, which has been 10%. So this is based on your market analysis or market research. So this is, you are doing the competitors study, and then based on that you are saying, okay, what we are achieving and what the competitors are doing, and this is one of the major factors why the growth is there, okay, based on that this problem statement. Customers prefer to maintain bank accounts with the banks with the modern facilities. Due to this trend, there is a potential loss of new customers as well as shifting of existing customers, right? With the increase of real estate prices and the cost of staffing, operational cost of the branches are rising, creating a constant on opening of a new branches as well as maintaining the existing ones, right? So this is again adding additional point is that it's not only the customers and the growth, also it is also help you to reduce the operating cost, right? So this is where it is showing as an opportunity. The online banking solution we don't have and we want to avail, so that is there is an opportunity we want to avail, and this is a basically statement we are preparing, opportunity statement, what we need, okay, and why do we need. In the past 3 years, the branch operation cost has escalated by 5% annually, creating a huge negative impact on the profits. So this is what you need to capture as a part of your introduction, problem or opportunity statement. Okay. So right now I need you to write only this part, problem or opportunity statement. At the end of the session, we will send you the template. Then that template you can fill it out and then send it across as a part of your the assignment. The remaining part of the template you can take care of that. But this particular part, how you basically define it, is mentioned here. Okay. Any questions? None? Okay, great. All right, so you will get now 10 minutes to write this problem and opportunity statement and let me know after that. Okay, thank you. I'm going to keep this one on so you can use this and complete.